Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. This is Sabrina Paganoni. I'm speaking from the Healey Center ALS and Mass General in Boston, Mass. I'm here with our patient navigator, Catherine Small. Thank you for being here. And also Mimi, our assistant, who's setting up this webinar. And thank you so much for making this possible. Always great to connect with people by way of this webinar. We can go to the next slide. So today we wanted to, as you know, now we have this webinar once a month, and the other webinar time that we have from the Healey Center, we speak about EAPs. And so for today, we are gonna share a few updates about the HEALEY ALS Platform Trial. As you know, we have continued to grow since we launched in 2020. So far, we have included 7 drugs that we call regimens. Every regimen means active study drug and matching placebo. We started in 2020 and we continue to grow. And we now have enrolled over about 1,400 participants at over 70 sites across 7 regimens. Now, the unique feature of this platform trial is that we use a common protocol and shared infrastructure. That's actually the platform approach. And what it allows us to do is to gain some significant operational and scientific efficiencies. And I'll mention we started to publish on all of these. I'll share the links. I think now that we have, we launched a few years ago and continue to grow, we are really starting to see continuous refinement of the processes and the operations. And we're very, very excited about our current and upcoming publications. Next slide. So in 2024, just to summarize the last year, we concluded enrollment in regimens F and G, and we collected a lot of samples, which I want to talk about. In general, this trial is a great resource of data and samples, and we have literally hundreds of people working on the trial across the country. So it's a wonderful large-scale operation. Next slide. So we have tested a number of drugs so far, and the goal here is to rapidly screen drugs in order to be able to tell if these drugs are suitable for a phase 3 trial or for other activities based on the results of the platform trial. And so of the first few drugs, we have 2 drugs that are now considering phase 3 trials. And so really excited that those are going to be set up in the coming weeks or months. And those are CNM-Au8, which is manufactured by Clean Nanomedicine, and Pridopidine by Prelenia Therapeutics. So really wonderful that they were included as part of the first group of drugs screened in the platform trial, and based on the results, they're moving forward to phase 3 testing. Now, more recently, the most recent regimens are regimens F and G, and we recently stopped regimen G, and definitely, a disappointment in terms of not moving forward. We had fantastic work relationship with our partners at Denali, and really, disappointed that the results are negative, but we did screen the drug very rapidly. I would say the trial was done with rapid execution, and so we will have them on this webinar series in a few weeks to talk more about the results from regimen G. And so it's really, we're looking forward to having them on this webinar series. So if you have any questions about regimen G, please don't miss the webinar when we have our Denali colleagues join to again explain more about the regimen G. And regimen F instead is still ongoing. Next slide. So the every regimen tests drugs sort of in a similar way. Again, the objective is to provide a go/no-go decision so that the drug manufacturer can then decide whether to move the drug forward or not. Each regimen tests drugs by using a placebo control period where placebo, and then there is an active treatment extension. And so this means that people will be able to receive active drug long-term after the conclusion of the placebo control period. And that's important, first of all, because we want to acknowledge the participation and the efforts of the participants, and also because this active treatment extension allows us to collect important safety and long-term data. Now, the randomization ratio is 3:1 active to placebo, and that's a unique feature of the platform approach. In the platform approach, because we use a shared infrastructure and processes, we can reduce the number of people who are allocated to placebo and still be able to test the drug with very good statistical power. And so because we share the placebo groups across different regimens, for every 4 people that enter the trial, only one needs to receive placebo, and that's definitely lower than otherwise possible in a standalone trial. For every participant, we collect a lot of information, including function and biomarkers. We measure neurofilament light chain levels for every single participant. We've been doing so since 2020, since we started the trial. And we also collect a number of other regimen-specific endpoints and biomarkers. Next slide. So I want to highlight that the trial is a unique opportunity to advance science and to advance the field of ALS. As I said earlier, we've been analyzing and measuring neurofilament levels for all participants, for all regimens. We've also done whole genome sequencing, and that data is in the process of being shared with ALS Compute, which is wonderful. We have collected a number of other biomarkers from both blood and spinal fluid, including digital biomarkers. And so what I want to highlight here is that the study is also a rich data and sample resource. And so we have now completed the pre-specified analysis and the main analysis from all the regimens that relate to these biomarkers. But now we are in the process of doing something very new and very exciting, which is to retire data and samples from the very first placebo participants in the trial. So, I said that there is a common placebo or a shared placebo across different regimens. And as long as the placebo data are still being used as an active comparator to drugs in the trial, we cannot open that up outside, open up access to that data or samples, placebo data and samples outside of the trial. But now that we've been in operation for a few years, we're now able to retire or basically kind of put in a different bucket the data and from the placebo participants from the first 5 regimens. And keep in mind that the placebo participants in the first 5 regimens donated thousands of data points and samples. And now we're doing more analysis, and we're going to be sharing the data and the samples broadly with the research community. And that's really a great way for the trial to advance science. We firmly believe that it's important to collaborate. And, again, the placebo data that's been accumulated so far and is now being retired because it's no longer being used in the trial, that's going to be such a rich resource and will advance ALS science. And that's important. We believe that, it's not just about testing drugs, it's also about collaborating among different stakeholders. And so we're very grateful to everyone who participated and donated their time. And now we're amplifying their impact by sharing the placebo data and samples broadly. Next slide. So we are working across a network of over 70 sites, and actually we are continuing to grow. So we started with 50, then we had a little over 70 for the most recent regimens, F and G, and now we added a few more sites. So for the future regimens that we're working on, we'll have an even greater network. So thank you so much to everyone who's participating. We know that sometimes trial options are limited in some areas, but with this trial, we want to bring the same opportunities to all sites. All sites participate in all regimens. And that means that people both in cities and rural areas, big academic centers or community practice, they're able to access the trial. And I'm very grateful for that. Next slide. So the trial also has some other unique features because of the platform approach, something that would not be possible if this was a standalone trial. This is a perpetual adaptive trial. And what does that mean? It means that it continues to grow. And in fact, this year, we're going to add more sites, as I just said, and more regimens, more drugs, so more participants. But it's also adaptive. And so it can continue to grow by learning from its own experience. And now that we have retired the data and samples from the first 5 regimens, we have done a lot of analysis to try to enhance the new regimens, the next regimens. And so we updated the protocol in different ways. First of all, to extend the duration of the placebo-controlled trial, to modify slightly the inclusion criteria, and also to provide a series of operational enhancements like more streamlined biomarkers and visits. And so also adding the collection of PBMCs, which are basically cells from peripheral blood that one can use to generate induced pluripotent stem cells. So lots of improvements and enhancements, and that's possible because we have continued to grow as a network. In fact, we just had our investigator meeting a couple of days ago, Monday and Tuesday of this week in Chicago, and we came together between in-person attendees and online attendees. We had over 300 people. It's been wonderful to reflect on everything that we have done, to continue to train and recertify the people who work on this trial, and to continue to share the knowledge. So this is a network of sites that's continuing to grow and continuing to work hard to bring new research opportunities at the respective sites. So we're very excited about, again, the continuous adaptation to the trial. And I want to thank the members of the Patient Advisory Committee. The Patient Advisory Committee is an active, wonderful group of people that have been providing invaluable feedback since before we even launched the trial. So we have been continuing to meet on a quarterly basis, and we greatly value your input also in terms of, again, the new and improved master protocol. Next slide. We're also working with a number of selected sites to try to increase enrollment and accelerate enrollment. And we're very grateful from different foundations, such as ALS1, Les Turner, and Never Surrender, who have helped us grow capacity at Mass General, Northwestern, and the University of Minnesota. When we launch the new regimens, we want to be able to have our enrollment rates were actually already very good in the first few regimens, but now we want to make sure that people don't have to wait. And we're doing so by piloting, putting more staff and resources at specific sites so that, enrollment can be even faster. So really looking forward to that, and very grateful for the foundations that are making this possible. Next slide. We're also sharing our experience. I mentioned earlier that we are publishing a number of papers. These are our very first papers, or now from a few years ago, that describe the launch of the trial. And if you're interested in kind of reading about our beginning and where we came from, these are great publications to start. But we recently published a lot more. Next slide. We were really excited to publish a few months ago a short article in Nature Aging that describes the many operational advantages and scientific advantages of the platform concept. It's platform trials have something to offer to many disease areas, and they're continuing to grow. And here we're reflecting on all the operational advantages that we have gained by using this approach. And so if you want to kind of get a sense of that type of topic, I mean, this is a great article. Next slide. We were also really excited to recently publish in the JAMA family of journals the results of the first 4 regimens. This is very detailed information with lots of supplementary material, a great window into everything that we do, that we have done for the first 4 regimens. And so again, if you're interested, all of the data is available. Next slide. And if you just want kind of a quick overview of the results, I have my very first podcast, I have to say, was an interesting experience to record the podcast, and really grateful to Dr. Moof from JAMA for working on these, suggesting these. And we want to bring you the latest on, where we stand with the evaluation of treatments for ALS. And this is a 20-minute or so podcast with sort of a summary of the first 4 years of the platform trial. Next slide. of course, we're not the only group organizing and coordinating clinical trials for ALS. So right now, I know that that there have not been so many trials available in recent months, but I know that they're coming, and so I want to direct you to a number of resources listed on this slide that can help you find clinical trials near you, and we will certainly continue to provide you with topics and opportunities as well. Next slide. We were recently told that the VA has also launched a new ALS website. So thank you so much to Dr. Howard and to all the VA community of different ALS clinics doing great work out there for veterans with ALS and with research information as well as educational videos. So don't miss this new website. Next slide. And we also partner with our colleagues at NEALS, the Northeast ALS Consortium. They have fantastic webinars that are all archived, so you can even watch the previous ones, and a lot of upcoming webinars. So if the reason also we have gone from a weekly cadence to a to having webinars only twice a month is because now there's so many other webinar series, and so we feel like we want to coordinate with other great resources such as NEALS and also All ALS. All ALS will have their own, they've been guest speakers on this webinar series, but now we're very, very excited that they're starting their own webinar series and would like to put a plug here for All ALS, which is this NIH initiative that's absolutely critical and will really change the future of ALS. It's a fantastic biomarker and natural history study that's super important. So if you want to have any if you have any questions, please check out the webinar and also check out the website. Next slide. And for our own webinars, first of all, we always have our registration page on our website. Again, we do 2 webinars per month now. And we also have something called the ALS link, which is a newsletter where you can receive news about our webinars directly. So please sign up through the link. And obviously, the most important person here is Catherine, our patient navigation is a central resource for people living with ALS. So she's always available by phone or email to talk to you about ALS news. And so for the upcoming webinars in April, again, the second Thursday of every month, we have an update on expanded access because people have a lot of questions about expanded access, which is separate from the platform trial. So that's why we have a dedicated webinar series the second Thursday of every month. And then April 24th, we generally talk about the platform trial, but because we work so closely with All ALS, we are very happy that Dr. Margaret and Maya Stone from All ALS will be here to talk about PREVENT, which is specifically geared towards people with a genetic risk of developing ALS. And so if you are from a family where there is a genetic mutation causing ALS, don't miss this webinar. And then in May 22nd, we will have the webinar with Denali that I mentioned earlier. So we'll come back to the platform trial webinar series in May with an update from Denali. And again, lots of information about regimen G. Okay. And with that, I'll take your questions. So the first question is whether the platform trial is being affected by changes at the NIH, and the question is no. The platform trial is not funded by the NIH and in any way, and therefore it's not affected. The second question is about when do we expect results to be posted on clinicaltrials.gov? So there's a couple of things, a couple of parts to this question. So the first part is, clinicaltrials.gov is a government website that lists all available clinical trials, and it can be used for different purposes. So for example, at the beginning of a study, when the study is still ongoing, it can be used to find contact information for sites that are enrolling in that trial or will be enrolling in that trial. And so as the person who's asking the question points out, there is a lag basically when somebody posts the information, it has to be verified in different ways. And so oftentimes the website is a little bit behind. In other words, we don't always have the most up-to-date information. It's a good place to start, but that's also why we have Catherine as a patient navigator to answer questions about the platform trial. That's why we show the other links. Different associations like TDI and others are NEALS are posting information on their websites, because again the clinicaltrials.gov website can be a little bit delayed in posting some, when let's say when a person leaves the site and a new contact person needs to be posted there, the process is a little bit clunky, so it may take 3 or 4 weeks even for that to be posted. And so for more up-to-date information, you may also want to use the other links that we provided. Also, I think a second part to the question is how long it takes to post findings on clinicaltrials.gov after the study analysis is finished. So that there's actually a requirement to post results within 1 year of the last patient last visit. I will say after a study is done, it takes a few months sometimes to collect all the data and post. So we always try to post well ahead of the deadline, but again, it takes time sometimes to post the results. So in terms of regimen F, there's a few questions about the timeline for regimen F results. So the results of the placebo-controlled portion of the trial were previously communicated, and again that's a press release that went out, I believe, in January. And I don't know, Catherine, if you want to post it, if you have it handy. We are now in the active treatment extension, and so we're still trying to understand again the full extent of the results. And so I don't have any firm conclusion right now. We've been in constant contact with our colleagues at Calico AbbVie, and so again we're trying to determine the next steps, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. So there's a few questions about making drugs available, and so I want to reiterate that there's a pretty big expanded access network right now in the US. There is no specific, the question is there a motivation for pharmaceutical companies to make the drug available? Well, I mean, there's really no specific motivation, but I would say that the NIH grants that made the EAP network possible are really making impact. And so because of these grants, again, it is possible to receive expanded access. And again, I would invite you to join the EAP webinar as well. So there's a few questions in terms of other studies. There's other studies that are ongoing, and again, those are more in the phase. There's a lot of phase 1 and early phase trials right now, both in the US and also in Canada and Europe. And I would say, many of them are promising. And so whether there could be a phase 2 study independently or part of the platform trial, again, it's too early to tell because it depends on the results of the phase 1. But I'm hoping that, different studies will be positive, and so we'll have a richer pipeline of drugs, as these phase 1 studies are completed. So the other question that I see is about, how, the role of the FDA. I mean, we have been in contact with the FDA, and so I feel like the question is whether the review process creates delays. I would say that we've been in contact with the FDA and had a very good relationship, so I really appreciate their review of the trials, and so I think that's a process that's ongoing. There's a few questions about upcoming trials. So there's a drug called made by Horizon that was announced to start in January. There was actually a regulatory discussion with the FDA not related to the platform trial. This is separate, and the company announced that they had to respond to some questions. I'm very confident that they'll be able to answer those questions, again, not related to the platform trial, and I think hopefully they will be back very soon. So I don't have firm timelines, but I know this is in progress. There's a question about about drugs moving to phase 3. Like, for example, when we published the results, for example, in JAMA, some of the drugs, again, the primary results were negative. And so the question is, why are drugs moving to phase 3? So the goal of the trial is to, this is a phase 2 trial, the platform trial, and the goal is to characterize the results as much as possible. When you plan a trial, you design to design it to answer different questions. And in the case of a phase 2 trial, you want to answer different questions about the dose, the target population, which is the population that's most likely to respond, as well as the most promising biomarkers or outcome measures for the next trial. And so I think that we did that for all of the previously tested drugs. And now the companies then can take that data and decide if and when and how to move the study to phase 3. So I think that that's that's kind of the amount of data that we can share and with the companies, and that was also disclosed in the publications. But the primary endpoint may be negative, and that's clearly stated in the publications. But that doesn't negate the fact that, again, there's a lot of data, that biomarker, long-term data, etc., that also gets shared, and that's important information also to inform the next phase. So there's more questions about, which future regimens we're going to have. Well, we're working with a number of companies. We have not announced all of them yet, and I'm sorry that this is taking a little bit longer. I will acknowledge that we were hoping, but we are continuing to work with many companies. I really cannot wait to announce new regimens soon, and we'll definitely do that in this webinar series. So with that, I think we have answered the questions that were in the chat. Any last word or comments, Catherine, or things you wanted to highlight?
I did just want to say, I put this in the chat, but I think somebody's question about kind of inconsistent contact information being on clinicaltrials.gov. To my knowledge, the website settings for clinicaltrials.gov, which we don't have control over, but those settings, when the trial is not actively enrolling, it will just say the site names that are involved in the trial. But when trial enrollment does open, the contact information will be posted again on clinicaltrials.gov. So if you're not seeing it right now, that is accurate, and that is the way it will be until the trial opens. But you can always go to the link I shared to the Mass General website where we have our site map. It's an interactive map, and then there's a table below with the contact information for each site. So it might not be on clinicaltrials.gov at this moment, but you can still find that info on the MGH website.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, and definitely we'll continue to keep you posted. We're expecting new regimens to open in a few months in 2025 again for the platform trial. So we'll keep you posted. Thank you so much. Thank you.